Today I'm making a video about one of the greatest games ever made, Ninja Gaiden on the NES. We're going to talk about exactly why this is one of the best games ever made, and we're going to fucking beat it. I want to start off by saying some things about how Ninja Gaiden tells its story and why it gives me a boner. Ninja Gaiden for the NES is one of the first games I remember playing that had a story that was told in cutscenes. And coming from the Commodore 64, like me at 9 years old, to Ninja Gaiden, it was mind-blowing. The story in and of itself is nothing special, but it's the way the story is told that's important. Because of the hardware limitations of the 8-bit NES, developers had to be creative in the ways a story within a video game was told. In a sense, I feel as though there were major advantages to having the hardware limitations that developers were faced with once upon a time. Let me explain. A famous writer once said that the reader is part author. What he meant by that, in regards to the point I'm clumsily trying to get across, is that we as the audience fill in the blanks of any given story with our imaginations. When you read a novel, you are the director of the movie that runs in your head. That's why so many people say the phrase, "the book was better." Of course it was. You directed it. As the tech behind these video games advances, I think we're losing something. We are no longer left with our imaginations to fill in the details when there's thousands of frames of animation and shitty voice acting and motion capture and more detailed graphics. Don't get me wrong, I like new games, a lot, and there are some new games that tell a story really well, in my opinion. But there's a lot of them that fucking don't. I have no doubt that if Tecmo could have had full motion video cutscenes in Ninja Gaiden on the NES, they would have, and honestly I'm glad they couldn't. There will always be something infinitely charming to me about 8-bit chip music set to hand-drawn 8-bit frames like this. I think the people behind Ninja Gaiden succeeded in creating drama and an emotional response from the player with the meager tools at their disposal. At least it worked for me at 9 years old, and goddammit, it still kinda does. As far as the story is concerned, there really isn't anything new here, but I want to say this again, it isn't the story, it's how the story is told. And here we have ninjas, demons, the CIA, a bearded archaeologist, and a love interest named Irene Lou, and honestly one of the greatest NES soundtracks ever composed. How can you really go wrong with any of that? Ryu, our hero of this wonderful little tale of ninjas and demons and blood and bodies and spies, has set out to avenge his father's death, only to find that his father is not only alive but has become a puppet of the villain. Star Wars. Yeah, this game rips off the Star Wars trilogy pretty hard, but I'm not going to talk about that because I don't care. I'm not going to talk about how the Dark Demon statue may be a metaphor for Cold War nuclear weapons or some shit, because I don't want to. What I really want to say is that somebody loved this game enough to give it an epic storyline, and they did it on a Nintendo cartridge from 1988. There's a lot of love and care that went into this game, and it shows. Ninja Gaiden wasn't built to be a toy. It's a video game, and I believe there's a huge difference. Growing up with this game and many others like it is probably the reason why whenever anyone attempts to do something bigger than their means, they have my full attention, because there's something so cool to me about that, especially when it really works, and I think in the case of Ninja Gaiden it works. In fact, the game is almost 30 years old and people are still playing it. Now, one of the reasons I think people really are still playing this game to this day is because of its difficulty. Ninja Gaiden is fucking ruthless, but I think I can give you some tips and tricks on how to make the game just a little bit easier. What you're looking at here is footage of me actually playing the game on my NES. The first thing you want to get good at here is the jump attack trick. See, in Ninja Gaiden you can only attack once while jumping. However, if you repeatedly hit the B button and down on the D-pad at the same exact time, you can attack multiple times in mid-air. This is imperative to beating the game in my opinion, as it will be your most useful tool in defeating the final 3 bosses. It can be tricky, so you'll have to practice it. I can only do it maybe 4 times before I land. I think there's speedrunners who can do it like 14 times, but fuck those people, they're not human. This is the first stage, and if you're having problems beating it, you should turn off Ninja Gaiden right now. Ninja Gaiden establishes its rules early on and never breaks them. The game is difficult, yes, but I think it's obvious that the gameplay mechanics are what they are for a specific reason. For example, there's a reason why all the goddamn enemies keep respawning. The ultimate goal of Ninja Gaiden is to move the screen forward. The ultimate sin you can commit in Ninja Gaiden is going backwards. You want to always be moving the screen forward, because if you try to move back, the game will punish you for it. In fact, there are parts in this game where you will be punished for standing still, because all the enemies will constantly respawn unless you are moving forward. There are plenty of spots where you can stop moving forward, of course, but as a general rule, always be moving forward. Ninja Gaiden does not reward caution or hesitation. If you keep moving forward, it won't matter that the enemies respawn. It's because of this you will really need to learn the enemy placements. This is imperative, and even when you know where all the enemies are going to come at you, the game demands your precision and crackerjack timing. Thankfully, the control in Ninja Gaiden is super tight and responsive. I don't want to go on and on about every spot in this game that may or may not give you a hard time, because I can't just give you some secret bit of info to make this an easy game. What I will do, though, is talk about a few spots that I think are the most difficult moments in the game. Like this jump right here in the snow level. There are two ways that I tend to do this. I either just jump down and kill the douche on the ledge and grab the cliff face and take all kinds of damage from the bird while slowly climbing back up, which sucks, or I use the windmill star like so. Basically, just throw that star out and get it all whipping around in midair, and you can kind of aim it at the bird that comes at you. There's probably a better way to go about it, but that's just how I do it. No matter what you do here, though, you will die a bunch, and that's okay. Just accept it. Then later on stage 5-2, there's this shit. The way you do this is just stick to the wall, let the bird go through you, and when it comes back, just before it hits you, jump and it will push you over the obstacle. Not very smooth, but it beats dying, and I usually just jump over the next bird. Let's jump to the last stage, because I have a feeling this is where most people turn this game off due to frustration. The end of this game has a reputation for being one of the most brutal gauntlets in video game history, but the truth is, it's not really that bad with a little bit of practice. Here's my first tip for the last stage of this game. When you get here, get comfortable, because you're gonna be here for a while. You're going to die a lot, and you're going to be doing this stage over and over again. Just accept it. It's okay to die. Dying will make you better at this stage. Patience and perseverance is key. One of the things you should know about this stage is that there's always the right tool for the job. Having and using a certain sub-weapon may make this a bit easier for you. Like here with these rocket pack ninjas, it's a lot easier to use the jump and slash sub-weapon here than anything else, because it allows you to make these jumps and never have to hesitate or deal with respawns. Or you could do it this way, which is way sketchier. Now this area right here is legendary. This is known for being the hardest area in this game. I think this is the exact point where most people give up, but maybe I can help. This first section isn't too bad. Kill the first fucker and move to his platform. When you get to the center of the platform, two enemies will spawn. I can usually just jump over them, but when you move to the end of the platform, a bird and bat will spawn. Don't stop. I just jump to the next platform and kill the bird there, because now that you've moved forward, it usually flies away and won't ever come back. Now the next two jumps are probably the hardest in the entire game. There are two ways to go about this. I'll show you my favorite way to do this first. If you can get to this point here, stop. Yes, stop, because no enemies will respawn at you. Slowly inch forward to make the witch disappear. Once she's gone, jump to the next platform, but when you jump, a bird will spawn directly in front of you. You'll need to attack almost immediately after jumping to kill the bird. If you land safely, don't stop, keep going and jump again to the next platform, and there will be another enemy that will spawn directly in front of you. Again, on the second jump here, you'll have to attack almost immediately. Kill his ass in midair and you're through the hardest section of the game. Inch forward, jump and attack, jump and attack. The other way you can go about this might be easier for you, but it isn't for me. It involves saving your magic points for your sub-weapon starting at the beginning of the stage and acquiring the jump/sub-weapon here, and holding on to it. I find this really difficult personally, because once you have the jump and slash sub-weapon, you'll spend your magic points every time you attack in midair. I usually end up with not enough magic points by the time I get to this area. It's really about personal preference, so do as you will and good fucking luck. One thing is for sure though, you will die a lot here, but you just need to practice the shit out of it and eventually you will get it, just like everything else in life. Now, if you can master that section, you're looking pretty good for beating one of the most brutal video games ever made. The next areas aren't really as difficult, but I will mention just a couple of quick things. This spot right here gave me some trouble when I was learning the end of the game. To make this easier, get the hourglass here, and it will freeze the enemies. That's kind of important. Also grab the flamey sub-weapon here, because you're going to need it. Now in this area, you really want to get the life power up here. And when you get right about there, throw your flame sub-weapon up at these assholes that will drop down at you. And that hourglass is very important because it will stop more of those dickheads from dropping down at you. Once you get that hourglass, fucking book it. Okay, so on to the first of the 3 last bosses. You've made it this far, congratulations, you're a bad motherfucker. If you've gotten good at the jump attack trick, this first boss is a fucking joke. Head straight to the center pillar and let that orange orb fucking have it. Easy as pie. The second boss, though, is not as easy. This is the most difficult of the 3 in my opinion. I know there are a few different strategies for dispatching this douche sickle, but here's how I do it. I use the pillar on the far right. What you want to do here is use that pillar to jump and spam your jump attack trick at the boss. You should try to focus on hitting the boss with the tip of your sword, because if you jump too far towards the boss, his body will collide with yours in midair and you will take all kinds of damage. Also, if you're spamming your jump attack trick, you will have a tendency to destroy those annoying fireballs he throws at you. I think a big part of this fight is knowing when not to attack, so keep that in mind. And about his fucking fireballs. They will home in at you, but they're not that smart. Always be in motion here. Keep moving back and forth. After some practice, you'll learn how to ditch them. You can sometimes stand between them and avoid getting hit, but I think it's best to avoid them completely by changing direction when they spawn. And again, just like everything else, you will die here a bunch. You have to practice it. Eventually, it will get easier. And think about it this way. The more this dickhead kills you, the better you're going to get at the previous areas. Now, honestly, once you kill that second boss, you're pretty much home free. The third boss is pretty easy. Use your badass jump attack trick on the head right away until it falls the fuck off. Then go right after the tail. The little sperms, or whatever the fuck they are, he spits out at you are easily avoided. Just watch for the ones that go straight up and come straight down. Once the tail is gone, you want to use your jump attack trick on the center. Just watch the sperms and you'll be fine, as they really don't do a ton of damage. And there it is. And that's all I really have to say about Ninja Gaiden. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please subscribe, because we're going to be working really hard to bring you a lot more videos of all kinds, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. So see you next time.